Patrick never meant for any of it to happen, but somehow life had a funny way of dragging him right into chaos. Now, Patrick wasn't just any man, he was a legend among church people on Khoi Island. The kind of man mothers bragged about and fathers trusted to pray over dinner at the family get-together. He played every instrument imaginable. Gospel music was his genre of choice. It all started when he was 5 years old. First, playing the drums, then learning the piano, and as time went on, he spent most of his time in music training or playing on Sunday, from church to church, Sunday after Sunday. Every African American church on the island wanted Patrick to be their worship leader. He was that good. But on this particular day, none of that mattered, because the same man who played gospel music all over the island now couldn't stop running to the bathroom. It started that morning. 3 hours of nonstop bathroom trips, confusion, and mild panic. Finally, he did what any self-respecting island legend would do. He drove himself to the emergency room at Darrell Hospital. Sitting in that cold waiting room, Patrick fidgeted like a man holding secrets, and probably more than that. He wasn't dying, but he sure felt close to it. Then suddenly, chaos. The ER doors burst open as a team of doctors rushed in, pushing a stretcher with an unconscious boy. The moment felt heavy, sacred even. Patrick froze, watching as they disappeared into surgery. And that's when she walked in. Petite, golden brown skin, wearing a dark skirt, a white blouse, and a lab coat like she was auditioning for The Good Doctor, Island Edition. She sat 3 chairs away from Patrick, close enough for him to notice the worry in her eyes. He leaned over, trying to sound casual. "Is he going to be okay?" She sighed. "I really don't know." Patrick nodded, apologetic. "I thought you were his doctor." "Oh, I'm not a doctor. I'm the school nurse," she answered with a beautiful Delhi accent. She says, "I'm out of my mind right now. I feel so bad for him. He was running down the hallway at school. He fell and bumped his head on the wall. It looks pretty bad." "I'm sorry to hear that," he quickly empathized. She carried on. "I've only been the school nurse for a couple of weeks now. I might get in trouble for leaving the campus and rushing down here to the hospital like I did. It's so hard to separate being a new nurse from being emotionally attached to my students." The more they sat there and talked, more and more tears escaped her almond-shaped eyes. "It's hard to imagine how difficult the situation could be if I were in her shoes." But she was relatable and easygoing, so Patrick told her about his situation. As he reached deep down from within to say, "I'm scared," she wiped her eyes. "Why? What are you afraid of?" He hesitated, then mumbled, "I can't stop peeing." There was silence, then laughter. Through her tears she smiled. "You what?" Before he could explain, Patrick jumped up again. "Excuse me, I gotta go." "Okay," she called out, still laughing. "Hurry. And don't forget to flush and wash your hands." Then she covered her face, giggling. "Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. I'm talking to you like you're one of my students." Patrick returned moments later, moving quicker than a man in a fire drill. She grinned at him. "That was fast." Then, curiously, "Do you have a history of diabetes in your family?" That question hit him like a hymn gone wrong. His mother had diabetes, his grandfather too. It was practically a family tradition, one he didn't want. Moments later, the doctor came in, Dr. Green, calm, serious, and way too cheerful for bad news. After several tests, the doctor confirmed Patrick's fear. It was diabetes. "As a young African American man, you should take caution. Undiagnosed diabetes can be dangerous," the doctor said. "But you can beat this. You're young. Just adjust your diet, exercise, and relax." Patrick sighed. "Doc, I try to relax, but life just keeps coming at me." It's like every time I find peace, something ruins it. The doctor folded his arms and said, "What you think about, you become. If you think life is hard, it'll be hard. If you think it's good, it'll be good. You choose." Those words hit Patrick harder than the diagnosis. When he finally got discharged, there she was again, the nurse, still waiting, still worried. She stood, smiled softly, and asked, "Are you going to be okay?" Patrick shrugged. "I think I'll make it. I've been through worse." She handed him a business card. "If you need anything, call me. I don't have a husband or a boyfriend or a life, to be honest." Patrick chuckled, reading her name. "Mona Chaco." She smiled. "That's me. I'll pray for you, Patrick." "And I'll pray for you also," he said. As he walked out of the hospital, the island breeze hit his face. He felt lighter somehow, not healed, but hopeful. The man who'd come to the ER embarrassed and exhausted now left with a phone number. And maybe the start of something divine. Patrick had always been a gospel music legend in the church, but that night, for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like one. He felt human, vulnerable, curious, and maybe even ready to fall in love with something, or, shall I say, someone, other than music. Patrick wasn't the only one on Khoi Island struggling with loneliness. Mona, the new school nurse, had her quiet moments of emptiness. But Patrick's situation was a bit more complicated, messed up and confusing enough to make anyone laugh if they weren't living it. He had a friend. And when Patrick said friend, that's all she was. Actually, that's all she wanted. Just friends with benefits, if you know what I mean. He'd been honest about wanting more, but Janice made it clear that friendship came first. Rejection cuts deep, especially when it comes wrapped in kindness. Janice was the one who comforted him in hard times, supported him when he was trying his best, and encouraged him when he needed that extra push. Then suddenly, just as he began to imagine a future with her, it all vanished. God, it seemed, had snatched away the woman who gave him hope. Here's what happened. One evening, Patrick decided to take a chance. They were having a private romantic dinner at Mahogany Bistro, on the balcony overlooking the Khoi River. A violinist played softly while the two shared a bottle of Zinfandel that warmed the mood. When Patrick reached into his pocket, grabbed a small box holding a beautiful diamond ring, and placed it on the table, Janice froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "What are you doing?" she gasped. "You know we can't do this. We're just friends." The words shattered him. Just friends. For months, he'd been sure she was the one. Every moment they spent together told him so, except for the wall she kept between them. "Janice, why the hell are you still harping on this friend stupidity?" Patrick blurted out, unable to hide his frustration. "Oh my God, Patrick," she sighed. "You still don't understand. Here's what has to happen." She closed the box gently and continued, "If you trust me, we'll have an amazing, lifelong relationship. But we have to get into the groove of our friendship first. I appreciate our dinners, movies, hanging out, but an engagement ring is too much for where we are right now." "It's not an engagement ring," Patrick defended. "It's a promise ring. A symbol that I'm ready to fully commit to you. Don't do this to me, Janice." "You can't blame me for being careful," she snapped. "I'm trying to give you everything you've ever wanted in a relationship. It just has to start with friendship." He shook his head. "That's bullcorn, Janice. You want to do everything like we're in a relationship except be in it. This is bullshit." Her tone sharpened. "Watch your mouth, Minister Patrick Lee Davis. I've been nothing but good to you since day one." "Then damn it, accept the ring," he demanded. Then she fired back, saying, "This feels like a proposal. I'm not ready for rings." "Why not? Can you tell me that? Why not?" Because, Patrick, if you rush it, you'll ruin it. Why can't we just pray about it and be patient? Patrick felt the heat rise in his chest. Wait a minute. Are you threatening to break up with me? You're not getting it, she said sadly. If you don't understand the importance of friendship, you're just not the one for me. So be it, he said. But even as the words left his mouth, regret settled in. They walked out of Mahogany Bistro in silence that night. Since then, Patrick had been living with the ache of knowing he'd messed up something rare. Janice had been patient, kind, charismatic, someone who made him feel safe being himself. She loved him, and he loved her. But now, she was gone, and the emptiness gnawed at him. Patrick Lee Davis was a legend among church people on Khoi Island, known for his charismatic songwriting ability and larger-than-life personality. But even legends get lonely. 2 weeks after the breakup, Janice was still on Patrick's mind. He was heartbroken, and he could hardly deal with it. Reflecting back to the day when Patrick met Mona at the hospital, it felt like grace. She was a nurse, gentle, confident, with eyes that seemed to understand everything he wasn't saying. Being diagnosed with diabetes had shaken him, but Mona's presence gave him comfort. She showed up right when he needed her most. Patrick and Mona's connection was instant. For 3 straight days, Patrick rushed home from work just to spend time with her. It was easy, natural, even exciting. Yet deep down, Janice's shadow still lingered. He wondered how she was doing and who she might be doing it with. He also wondered whether she ever thought of him at all. In his heart, he wished she missed him as much as he missed her. Maybe he even wanted her to regret walking away. But this new chapter of his life was supposed to be about Mona, not Janice. Still, every time his phone rang, he checked the screen hoping it was her. Every time he saw a gray Honda Accord like the car Janice drove, he looked twice, wondering if it was Janice behind the wheel. It didn't take long for Mona to notice. "Did you see someone you know?" she asked. "You keep turning your head and looking into other people's cars." "This isn't the first time. Is there something I should know?" Snapping back to reality, Patrick said quickly, "It's nothing. I promise." "Yeah, right." Of course it was something. But he wasn't ready to admit it, not to Mona, not even to himself. Patrick knew he needed to get himself under control. The last thing he wanted was another woman walking away. He was working on it, trying to become the man Mona could trust, the man she could believe in. But inside, Patrick was fighting a battle no one could see. It had been nearly 2 weeks since Patrick started seeing Mona. She was okay, for the most part. But there was one thing about her that gnawed at him. She was clingy, always underneath him, and not in the way most men might appreciate. Mona wanted to know everything: where he was, who he was with, what he was doing, and why. On top of that, she had quirks, a lot of them. And those quirks were beginning to rub off on him. She was jealous, possessive, and too particular about the details of his day. Patrick tried to be patient, but lately, she'd been getting on his last nerve. And that made him wonder, was Mona really the woman he was supposed to be with long-term? Because if she was already irritating him this much, what would the future look like? Still, losing Mona meant facing something worse, being alone again. And being alone meant thinking about Janice all over again. Patrick turned to the one person who always gave it to him straight, his best friend, Marvin. Marvin had seen Patrick go through heartbreaks before, and he wasn't exactly impressed with his recent choices. But he listened carefully, then said, "Look, man, everyone's got their own perspective on relationships. There's somebody for everybody. But let me be real. You're not ready. You're still grieving Janice. And now you're talking about committing to somebody you barely know. You've only been with Mona for what? 2 weeks? You're moving too fast, bro. At this rate, y'all will probably rush into something, fall out of love, and end up hating each other. Patrick nodded slowly, then said something that nearly made Marvin choke on his drink. You know what, man? I was thinking about giving Mona the ring I bought for Janice. Marvin looked at him, stunned. Bruh. 30 seconds ago, you said she's clingy and gets on your nerves, and now you want to give her a ring? Yeah, Patrick said confidently. Like a promise ring. Marvin threw his hands up. Come on, Patrick. Be reasonable. If you don't even know if you like her long term, what's the promise supposed to be? That you'll try not to get annoyed? Patrick sighed. Mona's here. She's available now. I'm in a relationship with her now. That's more than I can say about Janice. I refuse to sit around lonely, waiting for Janice to come back. Mona's here every day, doing what Janice should have done from the beginning. Marvin shook his head, exasperated. So, that's it? Janice is gone, and Mona's just the replacement? That's not fair, to her or to you. You can't hold Mona hostage because Janice broke up with you. You didn't want the friendship Janice offered, but at least if you'd played it right, she'd still be in your life. Now you're just tolerating Mona to fill that empty space. Patrick's voice rose. Easy for you to say. You've got Michelle, your perfect little family, your happy days. I don't have that luxury. I don't want to be alone, man. I'm getting older. Look at me. I've gained weight. I'm diabetic. I get migraines all the time, and I hate running around from church to church on Sundays. I can't go through all this alone. Marvin leaned forward. That's bullshit, and you know it. You're an amazing guy, my brother for life. But you've let every woman you've been close to break you down. And the ones who didn't, you tore it down yourself. Patrick looked at him, defensive. Like who? Like Janice and Mona, Marvin shot back. You blamed Janice for mistreating you because she wanted to take things slow. Bro, the friend zone is the best place for you, especially with a woman like Janice. She gave you everything you needed, trust, care, vulnerability. That's real. And don't even start pretending y'all weren't sleeping together. Please. Y'all were friends who happened to bang from time to time. Even Patrick couldn't help but smirk. So, what am I supposed to do? Marvin's tone softened. I can't tell you what to do, brother. But I'll say this. You've got to make up your mind about what you want, not who you want. Stop chasing skirts and figure out what's best for you, even if that means living without Mona or Janice. Once you do that, you'll finally have peace. Patrick nodded again, hearing the words but not truly listening. As soon as their conversation ended, he'd already made up his mind. He was going to break up with Mona and go back to Janice. That evening, on his way home from work, Patrick took a detour. He drove straight to Janice's apartment, ready to surrender his pride and do whatever it was going to take to win her back. He parked, took a long, slow walk up to her door, and knocked once. No answer. He knocked again, harder this time. Still, nothing. Just as he raised his hand for a third knock, the door swung open. A man about his age stood there, shirtless, wearing nothing but boxers. "What do you want, man?" the guy asked, frowning. "I'm trying to watch my show." Patrick froze, his mind spinning. The first thought that hit him was obvious. This must be her new man. "I need to speak to Janice," Patrick said, trying to steady his voice. The man sighed. "Sorry to break it to you, but Janice doesn't live here anymore. I took over her lease last week. She left the island, moved to New York for work. She's gone, bro." Patrick just stood there, speechless. She left him. No goodbye, no closure. He turned and walked back to his car, heartbroken and trembling. As tears filled his eyes, memories from his past came flooding back. When he was 17, his mother had left too. She married a man in Pittsburgh who didn't want Patrick around. One day, she was there. Then she was gone. No goodbye. No explanation. He never saw or heard from his mother again. Then came Melissa, his college sweetheart. They'd planned their whole future together. Graduation, marriage, a move to California. But a week before graduation, Melissa left for Minnesota to chase a new career Patrick didn't even know she wanted. Another woman gone without warning. Another dream flushed away. Now, sitting in front of Janice's old apartment, Patrick felt that same old wound tear open again. The pain of being left behind, the silence, the goodbye that never came. And just as the tears started to fall harder, his phone rang. "Hello," he answered weakly. On the other end, Mona's trembling voice said, "Patrick, my student died." The following 3 days were quieter than usual for Patrick and Mona. The rhythm between them had changed. Mona was still grieving the loss of her student, her energy drained, her laughter replaced by silence. Patrick stayed close, never leaving her side. They didn't do much. No long drives or dinners out. They mostly sat around the small island house, sipping tea, talking, and discovering pieces of each other that hadn't yet been revealed. For Patrick, the stillness was both comforting and terrifying. He had always been good at hiding behind jokes and charm, but around Mona, there was no room for masks. She saw right through him. And one evening, as the soft orange light from the setting sun spilled through the curtains, he finally found the courage to tell her about his mother. The words came slow, hesitant, heavy. Mona listened with the tenderness of someone who wanted to understand, though not everything made sense to her. When he finished, she reached out and took his hand. "That's terrible about your mother," she said softly. "What about your father?" Patrick froze. Damn it, he thought. He wasn't ready for that. His father's story was one he'd buried deep under layers of silence and shame. Mona could sense the hesitation in his eyes. He shifted his body, fumbling over his words, his usual confidence slipping away. Finally, he said, "My father is not much of a father. What about you? What's your father like?" Mona chuckled lightly, unaware of the storm her curiosity had stirred. "My father is way too much of a father," she said. "He's controlling. Thinks more highly of himself than he should. I know you probably expected me to say he's the apple of my eye, the light of my world, and he is, to a degree. I'm spoiled, I admit it. Everything I have is because of him. He bought my car, pays my rent, and takes care of me. But he doesn't let me live my own life. He wants to control who I date, where I work, who I talk to." "Jeesh," Patrick said and gave a half smile. "How is that so?" "You make me afraid to meet him, but I guess I've got time to get my nerves together before we make a big move like that, right?" "Meet my parents?" Mona laughed suddenly, almost too loudly. "That's never gonna happen. My parents would shit their pants if I ever brought a black man home to meet them. Are you out of your mind?" The room went silent. Patrick's face hardened. "What's up with that?" "Why?" he asked, his voice deepening. "I may be a black man, but I put one pant leg on at a time just like them. I'm a human being. It shouldn't matter what color I am as long as my blood is red like theirs and everyone else." Mona sighed. "You don't get it. It's a culture thing. My parents don't believe in mixing and matching. It's severely frowned upon." Patrick didn't like that, so he said, "Yeah, but don't we have the same likes and dislikes? Don't we deal with the same problems in life?" "Not really," she replied gently. "You just told me your mother walked out on you at 17. And you haven't even told me about your father yet, but I'm sure it's just as ridiculous as your mother's story." Patrick's heart stung, his chest tightened. "Fuck you, Mona." Her eyes widened. "What? Patrick, why are you getting so angry with me? Those types of problems are not common where I come from." "Oh yeah?" he snapped, rising from the couch. Well, fuck you and the people you think are so damn high and mighty and better than me. He stormed into his bedroom and slammed the door. The echo of it hung in the house like thunder after lightning. Mona sat still, stunned by how fast things had escalated. 20 long minutes passed before she gathered enough courage to open his door. Slowly, she walked in and sat beside him on the bed. "What do you want from me, Mona?" he asked, his voice low and tired. "Honestly," she said, her voice trembling, "I don't want you to be mad at me." Patrick looked away. "You just stepped on my heart. I would have never opened up to you if I knew you were going to take a dirty shit all over my life. And you just told me I'll never meet your parents, which means we'll never be serious. I'm not spending my time just hanging out. I want a family, a wife, kids, something real." Mona swallowed hard. "Of course, I want that too. But I also have to think about what my parents want." "That's bullshit," he said. "You don't care about what your parents want. You're scared. You're afraid to fall in love. You think I'm like my mother or my father, like I'll leave or destroy you somehow. But if I were you, I'd run now while you can. I'm no good for you. I'm just some dumbass black man struggling with low self-esteem, depression, and diabetes and shit." Mona's eyes filled with tears. "No, I ain't going nowhere." "Okay then, Mona," Patrick said, his tone softening. "Tell me what you want from me." "You know what? I'm afraid too," she confessed, "because we do have some of the same struggles. My heart is with you because you've done nothing but treat me with respect these last 3 weeks. You make me feel seen. No one's ever made me feel that way before. I'm afraid of being hurt just like you are. My past relationships, they keep me from trusting people." Patrick exhaled slowly. "I'm sorry, Mona. You want to tell me what happened in your last relationship?" "It's not much to tell," she said quietly. "He cheated and left me. Said his ex came back into town and he didn't know he still had feelings for her. We started spending less time together, less intimacy, less everything, until it was over. Then I found out he'd been lying to me all along. She wasn't his ex. She was his girlfriend in the military. He used me to prove to his dumbass homeboys that he could take my virginity and still keep his other relationship. He lied about everything." Patrick clenched his jaw. "What an asshole." "Yeah," she said bitterly. "And that wasn't even my last relationship. Just the one that hurt the most. After that, I met guy after guy, horny idiots who only wanted one thing. So I stopped dating altogether, for 3 years. Then you came along? You never mentioned sex? You just spent time with me, made me feel valued? I shouldn't have said those ugly things to you. You don't deserve that. You deserve a woman who stands by you, who believes in you." Her voice softened to a whisper. "I'm sorry." Patrick finally turned toward her. "Be honest," he said. "Are you afraid of my past?" "Yes," she admitted. "But I'm afraid of mine too. And there's something else. I know what happened earlier was hurtful, but I want you to know this. I've been wanting to make love to you. I'm just afraid that if we go there, something crazy will happen and mess us up." Patrick's eyes narrowed slightly, his tone shifting. "Why?" he asked. "We've spent time getting to know each other without letting sex cloud things. If you're saying you want me, then I want you even more. I've thought about it plenty of times. I'll take good care of you, Mona. Let me take you there." The room fell into silence again, heavy, electric, intimate. They had amazing, passionate, butt-naked sex. Mona's heartbeat raced, and Patrick could hear the tension between them, humming and moaning in harmony like a 1990s love song. There's no turning back now, making sweet love, body rocking, knocking the boots. Last night had changed everything. Patrick woke up with a new sense of warmth, one he hadn't felt in years. Mona's touch still lingered on his skin, her scent still whispering through the sheets. His body ached in the best possible way, not from exhaustion, but from release. He thought to himself, "My world ain't never been rocked like that before." But even as he smiled, he knew his mind should have been somewhere else, with Mona's student, little Nick, and the family grieving his loss. Patrick had every intention of being there for them, of comforting Mona through her pain. Yet his thoughts kept drifting back to the way she had made love to him. The passion, the fire, the surrender. It all made him fall for her even harder. He was standing at the crossroads again, caught between his past and the woman lying next to him. Later that morning, Patrick and Mona attended the memorial service for little Nick. The chapel was filled with grief and soft piano hymns. Teachers, students, and family members filled the pews. Mona, sitting beside Patrick, looked fragile yet strong, like someone forcing herself to stand when her knees wanted to collapse. Patrick held her hand, feeling the weight of her pain. Being there, in that sacred space, gave him a strange sense of belonging. During the service, he watched people from all walks of life gather to celebrate a young life gone too soon. 20 or 30 kids sat together, holding hands, crying openly. The diversity, the unity, the shared heartbreak. It humbled him. In that moment, Patrick realized something powerful. Love has no color, and life has no guarantees. And when Mona introduced him to her colleagues and little Nick's family as her boyfriend, something deep inside him shifted. For the first time in a long time, he felt loved and appreciated. He was chosen. After the burial, they drove home in silence. The air between them was thick with unspoken thoughts. Patrick wanted to say something profound, something that could match the emotion he felt, but no words came. Instead, his mind replayed one truth over and over. If I'm going to love Mona, I have to let go of Janice once and for all. He'd been holding on to that ghost for too long. It was time to move on, time to live. Mona, breaking the silence, looked at Patrick and said, "Thank you for going to the funeral with me. It means a lot. I honestly don't think I would have handled this as well without you. And I don't mean just the funeral. I mean everything over the last few weeks." Patrick smiled faintly. "Oh, I agree. Thank you as well. You've helped me more than you know, with this diabetes nightmare and just keeping me grounded." "Well, that's what I'm here for," Mona replied with a gentle smile. The rest of the day was filled with affection, quiet, grateful, passionate affection. Hugs melted into kisses. Kisses deepened into something more. Their love became an act of healing. That night, under the dim glow of the bedside lamp, they reached for each other again. Their movements were slow, deliberate, desperate, two souls finding comfort in the only language they both understood: touch. It was a night Patrick would never forget. The next day, Patrick prepared something special. He wanted to surprise Mona, to thank her for everything she brought into his life. The table was set beautifully: beef tenderloin with red wine sauce, baked potatoes, green peas, and red roses at the center. He could already imagine her walking in, smiling, falling into his arms. When Mona came home from work, the door opened. He turned toward her, ready to say, "Hey, beautiful." But the look on her face froze him in place. Her eyes were blazing, her jaw tight, her movements sharp. She stormed toward him, pointing a finger straight at his chest. "Who the hell is Janice?" she demanded. Patrick blinked. "Janice? Don't act like you don't know who she is, you lying son of a bitch. One of the students at my school came up to me today, while I was talking to my boss, and said, 'Why were you at the funeral with my Aunt Janice's boyfriend yesterday?'" Patrick's heart dropped. Oh my God. He immediately realized what happened. It had to be Janice's nephew, Martin. He hadn't even seen Martin at the funeral, hadn't known he was there. Now the truth was twisted and weaponized. Mona snapped. Nothing to say, huh? Unbelievable. Yet again, another lying-ass man who only wanted me for sex. No, Mona, Patrick shouted, chasing after her. You know that's not true. You mean the world to me. Janice is just a friend. Was a friend. Mona spun around, her voice rising. Which one is it, Patrick? Is she a friend or not? You know what? It doesn't even matter. She grabbed her things, tossing clothes into a bag. She was ready to leave Patrick's home and never see him again. Babe, come on. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Okay, fine, she said sharply. Tell me who the fuck Janice is. You've got 1 minute. Patrick's voice broke slightly. Janice was a friend. Someone I wanted to have a relationship with, but she didn't want to be more than friends. But I did. So I tried to give her a promise ring, but she thought I was proposing. And she dumped me. Mona gave a bitter laugh, sarcastic as ever. Aw, you poor little fella. And did you try to give her this gorgeous ring that's right here on my finger? She must have been crazy not to accept it. It's beautiful. Her voice cracked. I haven't taken it off since you gave it to me. Until now. Slowly she began sliding the ring off her finger, tears rolling down her cheeks. Let me be fair about this, Patrick, she said softly. You lied to me. Not with words, but with your heart. You hid this situation from me, just like you tried to hide your parents. Patrick shook his head. No, Mona. I'm giving you everything I have. My heart is wide open. That's a lie, she said, trembling. You hid her, because you're still in love with her. If I'm wrong, tell me. Do you still love her? Patrick looked her in the eye. No, he said firmly, I don't. And I fully commit my everything to you, Mona Chaco. But didn't you make the same commitment to her, she asked? Isn't that why you tried to give her the ring in the first place? Her breath caught as she shook her head. Never mind. I've wasted my time. My heart is broken, and I look like a fool for introducing you to my coworkers and students not knowing you were in love with someone else. It'll take a lifetime for me to forgive myself for letting my guard down. She reached out to hand him the ring, but before Patrick could take it, it slipped from her hand and hit the floor with a hollow clink. Mona looked down at it, the tiny circle of metal that had carried all their dreams, then turned away. Goodbye, Patrick. And with that, she walked out, leaving him standing in the soft candlelight of a dinner that would never be eaten, staring at the ring that had cost him everything. 2 months later, it was time for Patrick's 4th annual vacation, a summer getaway tradition he shared with his closest friends. In past years, they'd stamped their passports in Cabo, Paris, and Amsterdam. This time, the destination was Brazil. But this year felt different. Patrick's life had been spinning out of control, and while everyone else buzzed with excitement, he was running on fumes. In the past, he was the life of the party, the spark that lit the night and the last one to leave when the party was over. Now, he just wanted silence. All he wanted to do was get in his bed at the Airbnb and sleep for 3 days straight. Unfortunately, that wasn't how things worked with his crew. Their Airbnb was a lavish 6-bedroom, 5-bath home near the Brazilian shore. The walls gleamed white, the air smelled of salt and sea, and laughter echoed from the open living room as the group reunited. Patrick's best friend Marvin was calm and composed as always, told stories about his growing business with his wife, Michelle. Then there was Jason McMichaels, known affectionately, and somewhat politically incorrectly, as White Boy Jay. No offense intended, he'd earned it. His swagger, his dialect, even the way he moved carried a rhythm that didn't match his pale complexion. Jason was lightning fast on the baseball field, a powerhouse who could slug a baseball from Brazil back to Khoi Island. Now he was on vacation with his new girlfriend, Erin, a swimsuit model and commercial actor. Clearly, Jason's stock was rising in more ways than one. Patrick's cousin Monica was also there, along with her girlfriend, Cindy. Cindy was cute but reserved, maybe shy because she didn't know the group yet. Patrick noticed her, in the way men do when they're lonely, keeping his eyes on her just enough to feed his imagination. Then, there was Stephanie and Mr. C, whose real name was Milton Clayton, a name he loathed. Milton sounds like an old man with suspenders and soup stains, he often joked. Calling him Mr. C somehow made it cooler. Stephanie, on the other hand, was anything but old. She was vibrant, magnetic, and stunning, the kind of woman who made heads turn twice. Seeing her and Mr. C as a couple was a shock. "Wow," Patrick said, breaking the moment's quiet hum. "This year's vacation is full of surprises." "What do you mean?" Marvin asked. Jason and Mr. C both showed up with their precious ladies. First time ever. He smiled, but inside, jealousy gnawed at him. He didn't even want to be there, and now that he was surrounded by couples holding hands and whispering sweet nothings, he wished he'd stayed home. Patrick excused himself, claiming fatigue, though it was something deeper. He carried a strange intuition, that sixth sense he called his spiritual radar, and tonight it buzzed like a live wire. Something felt off. He retreated to his room, shut the door, and sat in silence. No TV, no music, just thoughts. Thoughts of how everyone else's life seemed to be moving forward. Money, love, success, while his own stood still. Hours passed before a gentle knock broke the stillness. "Come in," he called softly. The door creaked open. "Hey, Patrick!" Before he could react, she wrapped her arms around him, a tight, unexpected embrace that sent electricity through his chest. It was Janice. "Oh my God," he breathed. "Janice, what are you doing here?" Her eyes glistened. "I couldn't stay away," she said, tears spilling as she held him tighter. Patrick froze, caught between disbelief and the flood of old emotions. Just when he'd begun to accept his loneliness, there she was, the ghost of everything he'd tried to bury. She smiled through her tears. "You look so damn good. I've missed you so much." I didn't know you were coming," he stammered. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Well, you know me," she teased, "always full of surprises." She turned, opened her luggage, and pulled out a small gift box wrapped in silver paper. "I saw this at the mall months ago. You were eyeing it. I wasn't sure if you ever bought it, so I took a gamble." Patrick opened it slowly. Inside was an Invicta watch, sleek, bold, and expensive. "Wow," he said softly. "Janice, why would you spend so much money on me?" "We haven't talked in months." "Because I love you," she whispered. "And there's nothing I wouldn't do for you." He felt his chest tighten. "Wait a minute, Janice. You ran away and left me and—" "I know, Patrick," she interrupted, her voice cracking. "I know. I messed up. You were right. What we had was more than friendship. It was real. More real than anything I've ever known. I should have seen that when you proposed." "I didn't propose," he said quietly. "It was a promise ring. A promise of commitment." She stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "I understand," she whispered. "Is it too late to say yes?" Patrick didn't have to wonder long about Janice's intentions. She made them clear, painfully clear, within hours. She wanted it all: friendship, commitment, passion, and earth-shattering sex. Oh yes. And Patrick gave it to her. What started as hesitation quickly turned into fire. Their reunion was electric, intense, the kind of encounter that left sweat, tears, and silence lingering in the air afterward. It was more powerful than anything Patrick had experienced before, even more than his wildest moments with Mona. He didn't expect it to feel right, but in a strange, poetic way, it did. Maybe this was proof of that old saying he never quite believed that says, if it's love, it'll come back. Still, Patrick couldn't fully let his guard down. Call it wisdom or paranoia, but he'd learned that love could disguise itself as comfort, only to rip your heart out later. And Janice, with her warm eyes and expensive watch, wasn't getting a free pass to his heart just yet. "Why did you move to New York?" he asked, watching her from across the bed. She looked up, half smiling. "Because I was chasing my dream." Patrick smirked and rolled his eyes in disbelief, saying, "Oh, I see. The makeup artist's dream?" She hesitated, then explained, "Becoming a makeup artist wasn't completely why I went. It just felt like the best thing to do at the time." Patrick leaned back, unconvinced. Surface-level answers never sat well with him. He needed the truth beneath the gloss, so he continued to dig for more information, asking, "So, what really happened? How are you doing out there?" "I'm miserable," she admitted softly. "It's a big city, Patrick. Cold sometimes. The industry is cutthroat, and I'm lonely. I missed you so much." Patrick sighed. "You know I would have gone with you, right? Is that why you kept me locked in the friend zone? You knew you were leaving?" She looked away. "You should have told me," he continued. "Now I'm curious. Since you hate it there, what are you going to do when this vacation's over?" "I don't plan on going back to New York," she said. "I'm going straight to Khoi Island." He raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah? You need a place to stay?" She smiled shyly. "Well, I've been thinking about asking you. Staying with you would be ideal, the perfect way to rebuild what we had." He quickly interrupted. "Woo, wait a minute. Don't you mean friendship, Janice?" "No," she said, her tone firm. "I mean our relationship, as you so desire it to be." Patrick studied her closely, his instincts kicking in. Then he boldly asked, "What's his name?" Her eyes widened. "What?" "The guy from New York. The one you were living with. He must have been special. You moved clear across the continent to be with him. Gave him everything I was begging for. What happened? Why are you leaving him now?" Janice went quiet. She turned toward the bathroom mirror, started doing her makeup, pretending she didn't hear him. Patrick waited, and waited more. But she never answered. 20 minutes later, she reappeared, wearing red lace panties and a silk bra, her skin glowing under the morning light. "How do I look?" she asked, posing casually. "I've been testing some new makeup brands." Patrick swallowed hard. "You look amazing." "Thanks," she said, kissing him softly before wiping the lipstick off his lips. Yeah, she was beautiful. But beautiful or not, Patrick hated being ignored. He wasn't trying to fight. He just wanted the truth. So he stayed quiet, calm, and distant. By the time they left for breakfast, he was still on edge. The others were already seated at the restaurant when Patrick and Janice arrived. Conversations paused. All eyes turned to them. "Y'all okay?" they asked, sensing the tension. "They'll be fine," Marvin said, trying to smooth things over. "Speak for yourself," Patrick muttered. "This shit's complicated." Janice's eyes snapped toward him. "And what's so complicated, Patrick? Sit up straight and stop slouching like you lost your damn mind." Patrick blinked. "Excuse me? Janice? I'm a grown-ass man. Don't tell me what to do. You disappear for months, show up out of nowhere, and try to act like my mama?" Her hand slammed against the table, silverware rattling. "Don't you ever, as long as you black and breathing, compare me to your deadbeat-ass mother again." She grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the restaurant lobby. The others pretended not to stare, though every eye followed. In the lobby, she faced him squarely and finally gave him the details he eagerly wanted, saying, "Okay, here's what happened. I was staying with a guy named Robert. Yes, Robert Parks, the film producer. He invited me to New York, said he'd help me launch my makeup brand and get me connected in the industry. But the truth of the matter is, all he wanted was a piece of ass. So, it didn't work. And I regret it every single day. None of that. Not the movies, not the brand was worth losing what I had with you." Patrick folded his arms. "I thought so." Then she snapped back, "Oh, don't get too holy, Mr. Playing the piano at Sunday service. You weren't exactly sitting at home knitting sweaters. I heard about your little Indian girlfriend. What's her name again? Mona?" Patrick's jaw tightened. "Wait, what do you know about Mona?" Janice smirked. "She's my sorority sister. Small world, huh?" He blinked. "You've got to be kidding me." "She didn't play you," Janice continued. "She didn't even know about me until my nephew told her. After that, she put two and two together." "Sounds like y'all been talking," Patrick said, his voice rising. "Yeah," Janice admitted. "She called me. We talked. And what did you say to her?" Janice's eyes dropped, her voice softening. "I told her I was surprised she didn't know about us." "But Patrick, why didn't you tell her?" He sighed deeply, shoulders slumping. "Because I didn't want to ruin another relationship. I was tired of hurting people, of being hurt. I'm drained. My sugar levels are off. I can't think straight. And I don't know how much more I can handle. I just want to go home." Janice stepped closer, her anger fading into tenderness. She touched his cheek, eyes glistening. She comforted him, saying, "I know it's complicated, but don't give up. Life's too precious to give up. Keep going. Keep pushing. I'm here now. Everything's going to be okay. You just got to believe that." The next morning, Patrick and Janice boarded a flight back to Khoi Island. Brazil no longer appealed to him. The thought of vacation couldn't compete with his desire for stillness in his own home. He was tired. Tired of running from memories. Tired of questioning love. Tired of pretending that peace could be found anywhere other than inside himself. When they arrived back on the island, Patrick focused on settling in. He wanted Janice to feel comfortable, to feel like she belonged again. The house didn't need much, a few small changes, a touch of her presence. But the real transformation was invisible. Janice was back in his life, back in his heart, and for the first time in years, Patrick allowed himself to hope again. They were living together now, planning a wedding, and she was finally wearing the ring he tossed back and forth between Mona and Janice, the one that used to represent disappointment. Now it meant living the rest of his life with Janice. Yet, in the quiet moments, he couldn't shake the feeling that life was teaching him something deeper. Sometimes things doesn't end the way you pictured them. You could plan for love, but love always had its own timing. You could dream of peace, but peace wouldn't come until you faced your pain. Patrick thought he'd lost everything: his dignity, his faith, his future. But maybe losing Mona and almost losing Janice was God's way of helping him find himself. Because no one ever knows how broken they are until someone loves them through it, or leaves them because of it. Either way, you learn, you grow, you heal, and sometimes, if you're lucky, you start to believe again. Patrick's reflection was interrupted by a knock at the door. "Are you expecting company?" Janice asked. Patrick shook his head, walking toward the window. When he looked out, his stomach tightened. It was Mona. She stood on the porch, still and exhausted, as if she had been standing there for hours. Her hair was unkempt, her eyes swollen. She wasn't looking like the bright, sexy school nurse Patrick once knew. He stayed silent, hoping she might leave. But she didn't. The knocking continued, steady, insistent. Janice crossed her arms, demanding, "Okay, Patrick, enough is enough. This chick ain't leaving. You might as well open the door and see what she wants." Then Mona's voice cut through the wood. "I know you're in there. You might as well open the damn door. I still have a key. I can come in with or without your permission." Janice's head snapped toward him, saying, "You gave that bitch a key? You never gave me one. What makes her so special?" "This isn't the time," Patrick said softly. "Oh, it's exactly the time," Janice shot back. "Open the door." He hesitated, then turned the knob. Mona stepped inside. The air seemed to tighten around them. She looked smaller somehow, stripped of the energy that once drew him in. Her face was pale, her eyes trembling with something between shame and defiance. She looked at him first, then at Janice. Her voice quivered but held steady, saying, "I came to tell you. I was pregnant." There was a pause, the kind that steals the breath from a room. Then she continued, saying, "I got an abortion." Patrick froze. The words hit like a blunt force to the chest. Janice was the first to react. "Why did you have to come here for that? You didn't even give him a chance to decide if he wanted the baby or not. You just made that decision on your own?" Mona's tone hardened. "I'm sorry, Janice, but this is my body and my life. I don't need anyone's approval." Patrick finally found his voice. "Yeah," he said quietly, "but it would have been even harder when your parents found out the baby's father was black, right?" Mona snapped, "For God's sake, Patrick, don't make this about race. You and I both know we had no business bringing a child into this world. Look at us broken people trying to fix each other. You don't even have an example of what a real father looks like. I wasn't about to raise a child alone, because that's exactly what would have happened." Before Patrick could respond, Janice stepped forward. Her eyes burned with conviction, vocally irritated, saying, "Patrick is far from broken. All three of us made poor choices, but don't you dare call him messed up. He's a good man with a good heart. He just wants to be loved, something I'm guessing you don't really know how to give." You see, when you let fear run your life, you start hurting people who were sent to help you heal. You push away the ones who care. You create chaos to feel in control. I almost did the same thing until I realized what I was about to lose. She reached for Patrick's hand. Her voice softened. "He's not perfect, but he's perfect for me. And you know what his biggest dream is? To be a father, to have a family, to give a child what he never had." Janice's tone turned cold. "And you took that away from him. Shame on you, Mona." Silence stretched between them, the kind of silence that felt permanent. Mona finally turned toward the door, her shoulders low, but just before stepping out, she glanced back, her pride flickering through her pain, then said it, the exact thing that would end all conversations with Patrick forever. She looked at Janice with an evil stare and said, "Is that my ring you're wearing?" "I thought so." And then she left. The door closed behind her and the sound echoed like an ending. Sometimes healing doesn't come from the people who hurt you. It comes from the ones who stay. The ones who see your scars and call them beautiful anyway. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's moving forward anyway. And that's exactly what Patrick and Janice did together. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like and comment on this video. We appreciate your support.